Hello, my dear ones. This is chapter 4, video 4. We're going to be looking at when surpluses become permanent, and what causes that is the equilibrium being below the price floor. Now, we don't like price floors to begin with, especially if they're used as short-term mechanisms to control what's out of control, which is the price. They really can cause a problem when they are above the equilibrium. So once more, you have the supply curve. You have the demand curve. Where they intersect is called the equilibrium. It comes from two things being equal, and what they are is the quantity. The quantity demanded and the quantity supplied equal each other. So at this point, this given price, we used $10 earlier, we'll keep using it. Let's say this quantity here is 1,000 units. So at equilibrium, the price is $10. The quantity demanded is 1,000 units. The quantity supplied is 1,000 units. But if you look up here, what you have is a quantity demanded that is significantly smaller than the quantity supplied down here taken from the supply curve. And it is a price floor. When the price floor is making prices too high for the market because the lowest legal price is above the price that the market prefers, known as equilibrium, we end up with permanent surpluses. Remember, short-term surpluses and shortages are common, they're fine. But when they are permanent, it is not fine anymore. So I have this image here to show you way too much overstock of everything. That is a permanent surplus. This also is going to cause a recession. So both of these are problematic because both make prices higher. You can see that at this price up here of, let's say, $16, $17 is higher than the price down here of $10. And the market might actually end up creating, instead of the white market of legal exchanges, we end up with a black market. If a seller has a product, but they want $17 for it, not 17, are willing to accept less than the government is saying in order to move their merchandise, they will probably accept less behind closed doors. The problem with price controls or trying to control the market is you don't necessarily fix the problem. You just create shadier, more dangerous ways for people to continue to get what they need and bypass paying taxes. And remember, every time we bypass paying taxes, we end up with less public goods to benefit everybody, which makes private goods even more expensive when in the first place we want them to actually come down to where the equilibrium is. What can the government do? They can take this price floor and move it below the equilibrium. So if this is $10 instead of 17 or 16 or whatever this is, move it down to below 10. Maybe make it 6, maybe make it 7. Of course, there's always the notion that maybe there shouldn't be one at all, and just as long as there is adequate supply and demand in the market, because those are the sources of your problems. Once more, we're taking a pill by imposing price floors instead of actually addressing the issue. And when you have price controls, you end up moving into often protectionism, which is like not wanting to trade with other nations like before. And that only creates less innovation, lower quality, and higher prices from within. So we don't like them. If they're going to be used, then the price floor better be below the equilibrium and the price ceiling above it. Now, all this manipulation can cause market failure. Market failure is going to always happen. Whenever we say market failure, we mean we are going through some sort of recessionary state. Because, market failure means not enough jobs, not enough quality, not enough choice, not enough of anything that we want that would tell us we're living a good life. So here are the 4 causes of market failure: lack of competition, externalities, lack of public goods, and disparaged income inequality. I'm going to go over each one of them separately. I picked this image because it's really a very appropriate image. It's showing you that the economy is tanking, right? And it's showing you somebody who's saying, is there a bottom? And sometimes this is really what it feels like. So market failure means employment is suffering. Values, all the values that we have are suffering. The value of your house, the value of your stock portfolio. We end up feeling like, more hunger, more homelessness, more poverty, schools that are not being funded as before, public services that are being neglected. It's just a depressive state. Okay, so first one, lack of competition. Lack of competition means You have very big and dominant players, and the rest that are pretty much useless against them, no matter what arsenal they have, because they have nowhere near the ability to compete on the market. Lack of competition. Imagine a town where economically it gets depressed, and before there used to be 7 gas stations and 4 grocery stores. And now, because businesses couldn't survive, some of them, it's down to 3 gas stations and 1 grocery store. What's that gonna do? It's going to mean less production overall, right? Less gas available in town, less food available in town, access to them. Employment, those businesses have laid off people. And then other businesses that depend on them lay off people as well. And then the consumers aren't buying from the rest of the businesses, so they lay off more people. Wages and salaries shrink. Either people, I hope you've never experienced this, but often it's happened in recessions where somebody's pay is cut, or all their raises are frozen, or the bonuses are gone. There's simply less money available for people to spend in the form of income. Job opportunities shrink. So now, not only are we laying off people, and those who are laid off are taking longer to find a job and they have less money, but those who are looking for a new job find there are way too few jobs and way too many other candidates trying to apply for them. Quality and choice shrink. When businesses, so take those 3 surviving gas stations, maybe now they're not as clean, maybe they don't carry as many goods, maybe they're buying only the lower end gasoline. The grocery store isn't going to provide you with all the brands you're used to or all the quality. Maybe they don't get your nice organic stuff that you like anymore, not that you can afford it anyway. Prices can rise. When you have fewer gas stations providing gas in town, the prices are going to be higher. When you have 1 or 2 grocery stores versus 5, also the prices are likely to be higher. The most expensive gas station in the country continues to be in Mendocino. And I love Mendocino, California, and I've been there multiple times, and I go and I try to stay as long as I can when I'm up there. But there's this one gas station in town, and it's a hideous, old, dirty gas station. It is the most expensive gas in the country. And the reason I know this is because on my last visit last year, I said, I was driving to Fort Bragg, which is a good 15, 20 minutes away. I just wasn't, it was like on principle. And I thought to myself, is this woman here who owns this gas station charging the most expensive gas in the country? And so funny, I look it up and it is. And then there were like other articles I thought was hilarious because I just thought, this is ridiculous how expensive it is. And it really was the most expensive. She's the only gas station in town. And you're talking about you have to drive either south quite a bit or north at least to Fort Bragg to fill up. So she knows that she can get away with it, even though it's lower quality everything. So this is what lack of competition does. Now, externalities. You might not have heard of this before. Externalities comes from something that is external, something outside of the transaction between buyer and seller that is really dumping rain and misery on a third party who is not, notice a third party is harmed, not the seller or buyer. Ooh, this is supposed to be or. Don't you love it when I begin to make editing changes right here while I'm recording? So it's not the seller, it's not the buyer, it's the third party, and there's an external a transaction that is external that's harming them. How? Secondhand smoke. If you don't smoke, I actually had a student at AIC who developed lung cancer, and her husband smoked. He didn't develop anything. So she was living with a smoker, and she didn't buy the cigarettes directly. She didn't consume the cigarettes directly, but she ended up with a horrible disease. That is an externality. So externalities are when buyers and sellers transact, but someone else is harmed by that transaction. For instance, gun control is about reducing externalities, right? It's not even about you buy a gun and shoot yourself. It's about you buy a gun and you shoot someone else with it. And not only is that other person who didn't sell the gun or buy the gun is now dead or harmed, but everybody around them who depends on them and loves them as well. That's an externality. The more externalities an economy has, just like the more lack of competition it has, it will fail. Markets will fail. Imagine you live in a town and now the town invites a nuclear plant and a new dump site. It's going to reduce the value of your house. People are going to, who can, will sell up and leave. Now the school system doesn't have enough money. The school is terrible. The good teachers have gone. The good attorneys have gone. The good cops are gone. You just end up with a terrible situation where everything around you is falling apart because of decisions of transacting between a buyer and a seller who isn't you, but it is actually affecting you. If your neighbor, for instance, starts putting trash and a broken car in their front yard and leaving it there, it would diminish the value of your house. Now, you're not the one who bought that car or used that car or anything, but a broken down car that's dumped like that in their front yard, people come to buy your house, they see it and they go, I don't want that next to me. No. So either you end up selling your house for less than you want to, or you can't sell your house because of the junkyard that your neighbor has created. That is an externality. Now, imagine that happening to many different people in many different ways. Of course, it's going to cause market failure. How are externalities controlled? The government will tax a product. All of this is on your outlines. All of it is actually in your homework as well. The government will tax a product. The government will ban a product. The government will regulate a product. So if you take cigarettes, no, you can't smoke at all inside, maybe this building or until you are 21 or 18. Regulation, if you do smoke, you have to be within so many feet of this entrance. And taxes, there's a specific tax on cigarettes. Okay, we'll stop right here and we have one more video and we'll be done.